David was enveloped by a blinding light and pulled into the sky, leaving behind only a trail of fear and confusion. This account delves into the dark events that led to David's abduction, his family's desperate attempts to understand what happened, and the mysterious circumstances that continue to shroud this enigmatic case to this day. On November 17, 1967, in the tranquil province of Alberta, Canada, an event occurred that profoundly marked the life of the Silhout family and became one of the most intriguing UFO cases in the region. The protagonist is David Silhout, a 13-year-old boy known for his cheerful and sociable nature. However, on that fateful day, David returned home desperate, claiming to have been chased by something inexplicable. This account explores the events that led to David's abduction, his family's attempts to understand what happened, and the mysterious circumstances that surround the case to this day. David spent the day at a close friend's house, participating in games and conversations with other children. Around 6 o'clock, he began his walk back home, a usual route of approximately 3 minutes. However, on that occasion, he had to cross an empty field, an area seldom frequented and known for its vastness and silence. As he walked through the field, David felt a strange sensation in the air. Suddenly, a loud and unusual noise broke the silence, causing him to stop abruptly. Curious and scared, David looked up to the sky and spotted a metallic object, silver-gray in color, hovering above him. The object was circular, with a smooth surface and a colored stripe around it, creating a striking contrast with the night sky. Within seconds, a beam of orange light emerged from the center of the UFO, directed straight at him. The intensity of the light was overwhelming, momentarily blinding him and causing a deep sense of disorientation. Before he could react, David felt an invisible force pulling him upward, as if he were being sucked into the very object. With no time to comprehend or react, David was forcibly taken inside the craft, a quick and extremely traumatic experience. After being pulled into the UFO, David can barely recall what happened next. He only remembers a sensation of rapid movement and a complete lack of control over his body. When he finally managed to free himself from the force that had taken him, he found himself back on the ground, desperately running toward his home's door. Determined to reach the safety of home, David violently pushed the door open, hurriedly entered, and ran up the stairs to his room. He locked the door and tried to hide, trembling with fear and in a state of shock. His breathing was heavy, and he could barely speak, completely unable to explain what had happened. David's younger sister, Laura Silhout, who was in the kitchen helping their mother, heard the strange noises coming from the room. Worried about her brother's agitated behavior, she quickly went to the room to check what was happening. Upon opening the door, she found David in a complete state of panic, with wide eyes and a terrified expression on his face. Additionally, Laura noticed something peculiar. David was wearing only one shoe, while the other was missing. Laura insisted on asking what had happened, trying to calm her brother. Between sobs and tremors, David managed to report that he had been chased by a flying saucer, but couldn't remember more details. The family was perplexed and alarmed by the situation. The fact that it was already past 6:30 in the evening, when the incident occurred, and the disappearance of one shoe increased the strangeness of the case. After some time, the family found the lost shoe on a nearby piece of land, adding more mystery to the story and raising questions about what really happened to David that day. Before the incident, David was known for his contagious joy and friendly personality. However, after what happened, he underwent a drastic transformation. He became extremely nervous and unusual, avoiding social interactions and showing signs of constant irritability. The change in behavior was noticeable to everyone around him, including teachers, friends, and especially his family. The family, deeply concerned, tried in various ways to help David recover his memory and overcome the trauma. However, their attempts were unsuccessful. David often became frustrated and irritable when questioned about the incident, even denying the possibility that he had invented the story to hide some mischief or problem. This resistance to talk about what had happened only increased the family's anguish as they felt powerless in the face of their sons' and brothers' suffering. 5 months after the incident, in April 1968, David began having recurring nightmares related to what had happened. These dreams, although fragmented, brought to light vaguely recognizable memories of the abduction. He recalled, indistinctly, being taken aboard a flying saucer and subjected to strange examinations by creatures he would describe as monsters. These partial memories sparked hope in the family that it would be possible to recover more information about what had occurred. Determined to help their son, David's parents decided to seek the assistance of a renowned UFO researcher and investigator. Of the time, Dr. Alan Thorne, known for his investigative work in abduction cases and inexplicable phenomena, Dr. Thorne visited the Silhout family's home on November 19, 1967, a few days after the incident. During the visit, Dr. Thorne interviewed the family and observed David's behavior. Although the boy was still unable to provide concrete details, his responses indicated deep trauma and a possible repressed memory of the event. With the parents' authorization, it was decided that David would participate in regression hypnosis sessions, a technique used to access subconscious memories. The regression hypnosis sessions began with Dr. Thorne and a group of therapists specialized in psychological trauma. However, from the outset, it was clear that the process would be more challenging than expected. David exhibited an intense level of terror during the sessions, resulting in violent tremors and resistance to continue. Traditional hypnosis did not seem effective, as each attempt left the boy more anxious and withdrawn. Recognizing the need for a different approach, the researchers decided to modify the technique. Inspired by cognitive behavioral therapy methods, they suggested to David that he recount what had happened as if he were watching a movie on television. This technique aimed to emotionally distance the boy from the traumatic experience, allowing him to describe the events more clearly and with less fear. After several frustrated attempts, the new approach finally yielded results. In one of the sessions, David began to describe his experience with surprising clarity, as if he were watching a movie. He reported the following: "I was in the empty field, walking back home as usual. Suddenly, above me, I saw a silver object with a colored stripe around it. I stopped to observe it better. But before I could react, a beam of orange light was projected from the central part of the UFO, hitting me. I felt a strange sensation, as if I were in a trance, and began to be pulled into the ship. Inside the ship, David described a strange and frightening environment. There was a monster with scaly skin and holes that resembled a crocodile's skin where the nose and ears should be. Its mouth was extremely small and its skin color was brown. It wasn't wearing any clothes, just like the second creature that was beside it. Both seemed impassive, showing no emotion." David continued his account. "I was placed on a stretcher and my clothes were removed. They began to study my body, examining each part in meticulous detail. After that, I was taken to another room filled with bright and colorful lights. One of the creatures grabbed my head firmly and began examining my nose and eyes. At that moment, 2 more creatures appeared. They had round heads, wrinkled hands with only 4 fingers, and were about 2 meters tall. Their feet also had only 4 toes. They were speaking a strange language that sounded like a continuous buzzing, and they placed something on my chest. Again, the orange light appeared, and one of the creatures injected a gray needle into my arm. After that, they put my clothes back on and led me out of the ship. I was walking around there when I heard that noise again. I looked to the side and saw the silver-gray object in the sky, which scared me deeply, making me run toward my house. All of David's regression hypnosis sessions were properly recorded by Dr. Thorne and his team. However, after the sessions ended, the recordings mysteriously disappeared. Attempts to obtain copies of these recordings were denied by local authorities, with no explanation provided for the refusal. This disappearance further deepened the mystery surrounding the case, raising suspicions of possible external interventions to conceal crucial information. The absence of official recordings prevents a more in-depth analysis of David's accounts, limiting the complete understanding of what truly happened that day. The Silhout family was left without clear answers, facing not only emotional trauma, but also the frustration of being unable to access all available evidence. The incident left deep marks on David's life. His previously cheerful personality was replaced by constant irritability and nervousness. He became reclusive, avoiding social interactions and preferring to spend time alone. At school, his teachers noticed a significant drop in his academic performance and a decrease in participation in extracurricular activities. The family tried various approaches to help David overcome the trauma, including family therapy and recreational activities to distract him. However, the fragmented memory of the abduction continued to haunt him, preventing any significant progress in emotional recovery. The abduction of David Silhout is a case that encapsulates the mysteries and uncertainties surrounding UFO phenomena. With detailed accounts and an emotionally charged narrative, David's story offers a deep insight into the possible effects of extraterrestrial encounters on human life. The lack of conclusive evidence and the disappearance of the official recordings only intensify the enigma, leaving the Silhout family and the UFO community in search of answers that to this day remain out of reach. Regardless of the truth behind the incident, David Silhout's story continues to inspire curiosity and investigation, maintaining its status as one of the most intriguing abduction cases in Alberta's history.